and welcome to the Layer 2 show. Today we're speaking to DaVinci Jeremie and Alvin Lee, the lead evangelist from DeGate. Hello, Alvin. Hello, DaVinci.
Hello, how are you doing today?
Very good. Thank you. How about yourself, DaVinci? So where are you?
I'm in the pipe 5x5. I'm doing well here in Dubai. Yeah.
Excellent. How about yourself, Alvin?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having us, and what an honor to have DaVinci on the show. I've been following him for a long time, and he gave us a lot of faith in the bear market. And and I'm so happy to have a chance to speak with him. Yeah.
Excellent. So, DaVinci, you define yourself as a family man, programmer, YouTuber. Can you introduce yourself more to our audience, please?
Yeah, thanks. I put that on purpose, right? Because I picture myself as a family man first, and yeah, also a programmer and a YouTuber. I was always a programmer since I was like 11 years old when I had my first computer, which was a VIC-20, and I've worked for one company for 17 years called Loris Technologies, where I wrote their software and so forth. And I got into the monetary system back in 2007 to 2008, when I realized how our financial system was unfair, transfers wealth from the poor and the middle class to the rich. That's what got me to do YouTube videos, because once I found out what was going on, I started asking people, did you know this? Did you know that they print money and makes us poorer and we're going to collapse eventually? Everybody thought I was crazy, and yeah, I decided, okay, listen, since nobody's listening around me, I'm just going to tell people on YouTube, and hopefully I can save even a few people, right, by telling them what's going on. And that's when I got into Bitcoin, because somebody messaged me and said, hey, DaVinci, what do you think about Bitcoin? And my first reaction was, scam. You can't solve the double spend problem, because I'm a software developer. I'm going to read the source code and tell you how it's a scam. And then I realized, once I read the source code, not a scam, not a scam. And I was very excited.
DaVinci, I think you're being modest. You're famous for a 2011 video. I mean, everyone who follows you knows about the famous video where you called Bitcoin and said, please buy Bitcoin. And you saw the Mt. Gox collapse coming. So what do you do differently for insight? Is it looking at the source code? What is the thing that the few things that you do to get additional insight over 99.9% of like people?
Oh, well, first off, I've been studying monetary history for a long time, and also how the money system works. And also, I was also like a software developer, so I could read the source code and learn about technologies as they come out, and understand what they do. I think the most thing is the key is, like, I had both skills, both the understanding of the technology and how it would impact society as a whole, and how, as basically, I'm almost like an economist, because I've studied economies and stuff of scale, like large, like macro economies, and so I knew that this was going to work from that point of view. And I was so excited when I first heard of Bitcoin, and I was like telling everybody. Of course, some people would be like nodding their hands, yeah, and ignoring, especially the other developers, which I thought they would get it. Right, but they didn't, because they didn't have the background in history of money, so they couldn't understand the concept of scarcity with currency, right? And they didn't understand how bad our current system was. So that was really difficult to explain that to other developers and have them see what I saw. So imagine how trying to explain that to somebody who's a non-developer and could not verify that this code was working. It was a difficult task. By the way, the most famous video is actually from 2013, not to 2011. I have a bunch of 2011 videos that nobody really has seen, right? I have it all in a playlist. If you head over to DaVinci J15 on YouTube, you can see it. You can find a playlist of all my 2011 videos. And there's lots of them there. And then if you go through the comments, you can see all the hate, man. You'll see a lot of hate.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry about that. I should have clarified that 2013 is the famous one, over 3 million views, and like there's there's a lot, but you kind of saw it coming way back. I remember, in high school, in economics class, we learned about what money is, right? Money is the store of values, medium of exchange. And so when I first encountered Bitcoin, I was like, oh, it fits all these criteria. But I wasn't technical, so I didn't bother, or didn't bother to read the source code. And I think that was the difference. So, fantastic that you combine both skills together. I know that you saw Bitcoin coming, and recently you've been an Ethereum bull for quite a long time now. What do you think about the overall Ethereum ecosystem and vis-a-vis other ecosystems?
Well, I think the Ethereum system has first to market advantage, right? And on top of that, most other chains are just a copy of Ethereum, because you can't really reproduce the complex nature of a torrent complete decentralized system. So it's really difficult for anybody to reproduce that. So they have to copy what Vitalik has done, and so everything is just a clone where they just make a few adjustments. So I think that's why Ethereum will always be on top. Going forward, I think there will always be second layer solutions that people will gravitate to, because they'd rather stay on the #1 chain, the chain that's always going to be increasing in value. And then eventually it's going to get into the price will stabilize compared to other chains that come online that will take a long time to stabilize. And so their price. So this will give Ethereum a great advantage in the future, that the fact that, now that it's reached its peak, and then the price has stabilized, whilst others are still trying to get into that zone. So Ethereum's got that way ahead of itself in the future. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. Unfortunately, you have to please understand that although Ethereum is running decentralized, sort of like, it is more centralized than you think. Right. Because there is somebody, the government can say, yeah, we don't like that, we're going to change it and roll this thing back, right? And it will roll back. You can't do that with Bitcoin. There is nobody that they can say, okay, issue a hard fork, roll this thing back. No, people will go, no, I'm not going to go on that hard fork. They'll ignore it. They will stick their node. They keep their old nodes running. And most people have old nodes running for a long time, because all the old nodes run all the time. They don't have to be upgraded at all. So this makes it more resilient to attack from central authorities.
Great. So Ethereum is going to be around. It's going to be #1. But what are your thoughts on the things that are happening on Ethereum, like DeFi? I know that you were on a panel on DeFi recently, and NFTs. And what are your thoughts on all the applications that are coming up? Like, do you think that everything will be on Ethereum? And do you think that there will be specific chains or ecosystems for specific types of applications, like payments or NFTs or games?
Yeah, I think that will happen. I think we'll see other chains being useful for other niche environments, such as like gaming and so forth, where a gaming chain might not need so much decentralization, right? Because the reason why is kids don't care. Right? So yeah, it's not a mission critical system. So why do we need to force decentralization on a major scale with a gaming platform? This, you've heard of the trilemma, right? So if you reduce the aspect, the centralized aspect of it, you can gain more speed and scalability, right? So if we create it more like XRP, right, any kind of gaming platform, right? With a contract-based system, you will see you'll be able to scale a lot faster and be able to do things better than what Ethereum would be able to do it, and that's fine, and that's perfectly that's perfect if you do build a niche environment based on the fact that, hey, you want it to be, hey, you know, is it for video games, and you know what, who cares if we have to send out an update everywhere? Kids just want to play. Right? So they just want to play games, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, there has some monetary value there, but at the same time, the end goal is to play a game, right? So they want the games working, and they don't want to have to wait for transactions to move and so forth in that game. So yeah, it's better to be less decentralized and more centralized, like XRP is. And I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for calling XRP centralized, but it's so true.
Yeah.
Really, the effective.
I agree.
You know, but it's people just don't get it.
Yeah, I think that is what, if you look at the media, or I mean, like, just at the surface, they all look the same, but it's not true. Like they're not the same. You mentioned in one tweet a few months ago, like Ethereum and blockchain is going to, you know, disrupt a lot of the financial institutions like derivatives and so on. So could you dive a bit more into, like, what do you think the new world will look like when it's all over? Like what some of the financial institutions or financial systems that might be replaced or have a parallel alternative in the blockchain world?
Well, I think we won't see banks in the traditional sense. I mean, they still exist, right? In effect, because people are really reluctant to let go of their old habits of storing money in a bank. But eventually that habit will die, because what happens is when you just store your, like, for example, when you store your money, when you keep your money at an exchange like Binance, some people will think Binance is a wallet when it's not. And what they're effectively doing is leaving it at a bank. Eventually there will be a day where that will not happen anymore, because why is that? Every day that passes, Binance, FTX exchange, Bittrex, whoever, name any exchange you want, they are a honeypot for hackers.
Mm-hmm.
They're not only hackers that I'm talking hackers that are like on the outside. I'm talking about people who are working on the inside. Like, for example, let's just say you're the banking system, right? And you own the CIA, right?
Right.
Because that's the case.
Yep.
And you want to disrupt Bitcoin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have a bunch of spies. What do spies do? They infiltrate, and then they they get the information they need to take down the exchange. So I would expect the hack to come from the banking system, so that they could take down the exchanges. It's coming, right? One way, if it's not from the CIA, it's coming from a hacker group that's going to infiltrate the bank, these systems, and rob them blind. And so that we have those kind of events. So that massive event where people stop using exchanges, right? And you know what? If they do that, they're only going to help the what's it called? The movement, so that we move away from banks altogether. And that's going to be the future, right? We're going to have very few banks, and people will be like, "Oh, you still use a bank? How cute! You don't mind risking your money where they could actually take it and run. Okay, you're good." Because right now, if you deposit this into a bank, right, they can't take it and run effectively, because one, it's insured by you, believe it or not by the government. You're like, what do you mean insured by me? Well, you see, the FDIC doesn't have any money, right? They have very little to back up all the banks from a bank run or being closed down, right? So that means they'll just print more money, which once they print more money, they're really just taking it from your pocket. So so it's basically insured by you. Right? So it's like you're like, oh, I got my $250,000 insurance on my FDIC insurance. No, dude, no. They're just going to like so once the banking system steals that money, the money is still out there, and they're going to print more and give it to you, so that effectively doubling the supply and stuff like that. So no, you are paying for it, right? By your own pockets. So, and you don't even notice it. You still have the same number, but you don't notice what's going on, that you've lost value, right? In total.
Yeah. So buy Bitcoin.
Yes, exactly. Buy whole Bitcoin.
So I have a question, Davinci. Would like to ask, do you think a person can live in a crypto ecosystem, completely avoiding the banks?
Yes, you can. The thing is, right, you have to live, if you do avoid the banks, like I have, right, you understand you will not be able to borrow money. So let's just say, like, for example, I recently went out and buy a car. There's no way for me to lease that car. Why? Because I don't live in the box that the banking system wants me to. It's impossible. And I have an employee that wants to live in that box of the banking system, but because she gets paid bonuses in Bitcoin and so forth. But she, in order to report all the taxes and all that kind of stuff, is a lot of work, right? And she doesn't want to do all of that and live in the box, so that she can go buy a house, which I kept telling her, you are going to regret it. Never buy a house and go into debt to do so, because I explain that your work effort today is worth more than in the future, especially now that we're on the system, especially. So effectively, when you're paying interest today, right, that has more value today, the interest payment, than it has in the future. And so when you're going closer to paying off your mortgage, the money is now worth even more, because the reason why your work effort's going down, because we're innovating all the time. You might not see it, you might not feel it, but it's happening. That's the innovation is happening, even if we're on a hard money standard, right? But if we're on this standard, it's actually going down even further because of inflation. So it's like you're getting a double whammy based on human innovation and our inflation. So as you do this, as you go into debt and buy a what's it called, depreciating asset, you're like, depreciating asset? House is not depreciating. Yes, it is. It's actually just being inflated right now, based on the fact that anyone could print money and buy a house. That value is not real. The value you see for your house is not real, not at all. It's just the fact that you can print money. The Federal Reserve has written a paper document, a big paper, that they talk about how we've noticed that university prices have gone up higher every year, and has increased substantially over inflation. And we believe this is caused because we are allowing students to borrow money, which effectively is printing it and causing the prices to go up. And should we stop that, prices would come down. But we're not planning to. So you see the problem, right? It's the prices will come down to what people can afford to go to university for. Right? Well, prices of houses will come down to what people could afford to buy it for. And an example of that is Venezuela. The average home, right, with furniture and everything like this where I'm living right now, which costs like millions of dollars, right? It goes for like $10,000, $20,000 in Venezuela, because that's what people can work and pay for it for. Okay, so that's the reality, because no one can borrow in Venezuela, right? So there you go. It's clear that's going to happen. And if you say no, try to go back if you could go back in a time machine and go back 30 years and tell people, hey, you know what? We're going to have 0 interest rates for more than 10 years. And by the way, it's actually going to go negative, right? And there's going to be $18.5 trillion of debt available, and negative debt, interest rate bearing debt in the future. Right. Well, you know what they would tell you? Like, would they put you in a funny farm and say you've got to be mentally, so you got to be mentally unstable, because that's not going to happen. You can't do that. It's impossible. But yes, yet we're here because we're here at the end of our monetary system.
Yep. So what I'm hearing is that right now, the nominal prices of real estate and fixed assets are going up steadily, even though the earning power of the median is not growing. What you're saying is that there will be some violent adjustment downwards when the monetary system collapses. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. We'll effectively will have a violent collapse of our system. Right. We've had this before, and people just didn't. Where it was basically a default, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the United States has defaulted twice before, and most people are like going, "What? Government? The United States defaulted twice?" Well, you have to define a default to understand it, right? A default is that if you agree to something, paying something, right, and then change that agreement, that's a default. Do you agree? Okay, so the U.S. dollar was way back in before 1933 was backed up by $20, right? It was backed up. 20 of these paper dollars were backed up by 1 ounce of gold.
Yep.
Right, and that was the agreement that the government was borrowing money at, and other people were borrowing money at, and so forth. That was the agreement that you get these notes would back up that gold. Right, would be the gold would back up these notes, basically.
That's right.
And so back in 1933, they called in all the gold, and then they changed the price from $20 to $35. That was a default. That meant that everyone took a haircut of 70% instantly overnight. You lost 70% of your value. Not only that, if you were in debt, you were actually reduced your debt by 70%, right? Overnight.
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, debtors got a huge break, and creditors did not. They lost a lot of money. Then that, of course, happened again in 1971 when Nixon closed the gold window and took off the backing of gold, $35 an ounce for gold. And so those are the two times that the United States have defaulted on, and that was very chaotic. Prices started to soar in the 70s, and things were very chaotic back then. But it's not going to be like the 70s this time. It's going to be disastrous. And why is that? Because corporations, right? They eventually understood what was going to happen. That, hey, you know what? Once you have the ability to print money, what you need, if you have policy based on why you're going to print money, the key thing to get more money out of the policy and to get the policymakers to change, right, is to make it so that they have to change the policy, right? That's the key thing, right? So if you understand that, you just have to force them to change the policy. How do you force them to change the policy? Well, make an event so big that they have to change policy, right? Meaning that they have to print more money in order to, even though they agreed not to, right? So what they've done is they've intertwined all the banks, all the insurance companies together so that if one falls, right, they all do. So they put that to the test in the 2008. One fell, right, and they're trying to backstop it, and it didn't work out. It was like the whole underground of plumbing was like falling apart after March of 2008, as what's it called, Bear Stearns had collapsed, and you could see. I was like, when I was reading about it, and I was like looking, oh my God, the whole system is going to collapse. Maybe I'm not reading this right. And then the president came out and said, our banking system is strong. There's nothing wrong with our banking system. I'm like, oh God, we're done. We're finished. September, we're done. And so when Lehman Brothers collapsed, because they just believed that, hey, you know what, we're a laissez-faire economy. We're gonna just let people fail and so forth, and they'll learn their lessons. And then Lehman Brothers brought everything else down. It was like the domino effect. It was actually started with Bear, but Lehman Brothers fell, and then AIG was going to fall, and then what's it called? The worst of the worst is Goldman Sachs was going to fall right after that, and so that would have taken down the rest, right? So they what's it called? They moved basically, like, you know, when the dominoes start to fall, they moved that last domino out that was going to cause the rest of the chain reaction, which was AIG, and they bailed that out, which was effectively bailing out all the front ones, the rest of the dominoes. So, and then they bailed everyone out, because the reason why is because the derivatives, right, were so intertwining all the companies together, they didn't know which company would cause a system to collapse, because all the derivatives are like private. So there's no information on knowing which derivative people had, which will take down the system, right? So they had to flood the system with money in order to keep this thing going. And so right now, that's where they're at. They can't let what Deutsche Bank go. They can't let you know, the Chinese can't let what was that big company that was recently going to collapse in China?
Evergrande.
The name of they can't do that. Evergrande's too intertwined with the system. Like it's to any kind of, you know what, the system could collapse by a small company going under, because they understood the derivative structure and they got connected themselves in. And so so if that happens, right, the whole system collapses rapidly if they don't pull the domino out when one of them collapses, and they might not be able to. So that's going to be an interesting ride the next little while.
It's kind of like us who kind of understand crypto, or at least try to understand crypto, and we're part of Noah's Ark, or some kind of ship that's, we think it's safe. They are safer because we're on a parallel system. At least we have some Bitcoin, we have some connection to the Web3, we have MetaMask wallet and Ledger and so on. But if the whole world collapses, it's not good for us too. Like I mean, how do we deal with that? What's going to happen to it's not good for the world, and it's not good for the our interaction with them, with the current traditional financial system. It's not right to have it like that. What can we do?
There's nothing you can do. The system is destined to collapse. Now, that doesn't mean the world ends, right? Doesn't mean all of a sudden all the buildings start to collapse, right, that we've built, right? You don't see the Burj Khalifa come down, right? You know, none of that goes away. The shipping containers don't explode, right? Okay? It's all the infrastructure is still there, right? You understand? It's not like, oh, the world just blew up. No, just money stops working, okay? And so because we're innovators and we want to have a money system that does work, because we want to continue functioning, they will fix it. They will come up with some sort of solution, right? Where you know, they'll have, like, you know, some sort of Bretton Woods moment, right? And the governments will hammer out some sort of deal and work it out, and then all the things maybe will be down for like a week or two or something like that, but that's about it. And then we're back to business again as usual, right? Probably the same scam, just different name, right? but we'd be back to business, right? It's not the end of the world. People think, oh my God, we're all going to die. No, we're not. We're all still going to be here. When the financial system collapses, every single one of us, right? Yes, some people will feel that, oh my God, I lost all my money, and jump out of the building or commit suicide. And that's sad, of course. They shouldn't do that, because your money should not be your defining, this shouldn't define you, right? How much money you got shouldn't define you. But that's each individual. So, but at the same time, it's not, again, that's not the end of the world, right? That's just, you know, an event, right? That, you know, is foreseeable if you really understand our financial system, and we're going to survive it. That means that nothing gets destroyed, nothing gets killed, right? But, you know, the financial order means that U.S. will lose some power, lose a large amount of its power, and other countries will gain more power, and that will be very interesting turn of events in post collapse, when the collapse is over, and of course, Bitcoin is actually rooted because everybody will notice that, hey, Bitcoin survived all of that and more.
Yeah. Bitcoin, maybe Ethereum will do great, and some of the others. Alvin, do you have any questions you want to ask? I mean, we both of us lived through the first financial crash of 2008. So out there, I'm sure you have deep thoughts on that as well. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. So in 2008, I was still a student in London at Cass Business School. And so my dream was to go to work in investment banking. And I got an internship at the Lehman Brothers. So I got to see all of this, what you were talking about, DaVinci, live. And it really changed the path of my career, actually, at that particular time. And very happy that we understand that the crypto can change some things. Obviously, we're going to have a modified element, perhaps, of decentralization. There will be not only Bitcoin, some currencies that we're using for payments. Potentially, Bitcoin could be a gold standard. What do you think, DaVinci? Do you think Bitcoin is modern gold?
I think it's gold, more than a gold standard. Gold standard means that you actually back your tickets with gold, right? No, it's more to it than that. It's these tickets are basically credit, basically. They're these tickets that we own in our wallet or in our bank. They're just credit notes for real money. And effectively, because there's no actually real money behind this, it's just credit notes. It's basically effectively a note that somebody needs to have this. This represents somebody needs this in order to pay their debt. That's all it means. Someone needs to have this to pay their debts, right? So that's what gives it its value, right? The Federal Reserve, the U.S. government needs it to pay its debts. A bank or an individual needs to have these to pay their debts. That's all it means right now. And so Bitcoin is final settlement of real money. And what I mean by that was just like, for example, if I were to, here's this bottle of water. I want, I don't know, one of your T-shirts or hats, and we switched the hat with we've settled. We've settled. There's no more debt. So if I give that bottle to you, and you didn't give me the hat yet, we haven't settled yet. Once you give me the hat, we've settled. That's the final settlement once you've given me the hat, right? Now, when you do that with Bitcoin, you're thinking, well, it's not worth it. It's not anything. It's no value. Yes, it does. It is valuable because people understand the scarcity. People understand that it can't change, that scarcity can never change. And so you are receiving something of great value, that will always increase in value over time. Because whilst the hat and the water, well, we could always produce more, right? There's no scarcity here, right? Both the hat and the water, but there is here. There's a massive amount of scarcity in this Bitcoin. And so there's a clear understanding that you are settling with something real and scarce, even if you mentally don't see it, right? It's there. Every animal understands, even little animals understand ownership. Have you ever seen a squirrel, right? Protect its nuts? It understands that ownership, right? So it knows that those nuts that it's stored is there, it's its own. So you have this ownership of this directly, right? And no one can take it away from you, right? Whilst ownership of this, you think you actually own it, right? And you do. You feel, okay, well, I have it here. I own this. So, and it has value. Yes, it has value right now, but the value is being stolen from you as we speak. We're losing every year 25% of the value of this, the value, right? Without you noticing. It's like the squirrel storing his nuts and thinking, yeah, I got a bunch of nuts, I'm good. And meanwhile, the nutritional value is being drained away without him noticing. He's still got the same amount of nuts, but the nutritional value is less and less. And so that he needs to eat more in order to survive. Way more nuts in order to survive. That's horrible. And that's what the system we have today.
That's a great analogy. Davinci, could you walk us through, your daily financial life, whatever you can share? Like, do you buy things in crypto like regularly? What do you think? Like, do you hold cash in your pocket? I'm just very curious. Like, how do you live your daily financial life? Because you understand both. You understand the crypto market. So do you pay for everything in crypto? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't pay for everything in crypto, of course. But most of my income comes in the form of crypto, so I have to use that directly to pay for things. So I do use my crypto to pay for things, flights, for example. I can also wherever it's available for me to buy something in crypto, I do. And then my employees the majority of my employees get paid in crypto directly. Some of them get bonuses in crypto, but most of them get paid in crypto directly. Yeah. So I'm looking for, so I like that. And so I get a lot of income coming in. And it's beautiful, right? Because my income is in Bitcoin and crypto, and they're going up in value. Yeah. And so as I get the income and I save, right, the company saves, it's increasing its wealth rapidly, just by holding crypto as well. So it's a beautiful thing.
Do you regularly interact with like MetaMask or like Web3 type wallets? Because I know that you're also skeptical of the centralized exchanges. Like what do you? I mean, obviously you have Pandora's wallet, and you have what are some of your favorite Web3 tools?
Well, Web3, right, should be defined, because everybody talks Web3 and they don't understand what it is and what they're seeing, right? Well, what's Web 2.0, right? Web 2.0 is a current website that are dynamic. You can run applications off of them, right? You can, you can interact, like, for example, with Amazon, right? Is a complete application, but that application is centralized on their servers, right? So those servers that they have are running the application of the Amazon website, and giving you all those features of you ordering and going through the whole order process, credit card payment, and so forth, and all that. That's Web 2.0. So what does Web 3.0 really define? It means that you could effectively, but not cost effectively, run your whole website on a decentralized platform. The whole website, everything from, let's not say credit card payments, but let's say the payment system, which is obviously, we wouldn't use credit card payments. We use obviously the crypto payments. You could have the whole payment system, the purchasing, people actually clicking through and purchasing items, and the images, everything stored on a decentralized platform, right? And execute decentralized. And so no one can stop that. No one can put a gun and stop that. They could put a gun to the person who developed it, but then it's out there and it could just be copied, cloned, the whole application be cloned somewhere else. And so it's not stoppable that with a gun to a head person. And besides, if that person, throws away the keys, right, for that application, they can't stop it, right? So the government can't stop the application from running ever, right? Unless they, go after, Vitalik and tell him, hey, you got to stop that with an update, right? That would be the only other option, right? After that, so that is what Web3 represents, right? Now we don't do that effectively, just so people know, because it would cost too much for the person running the application, with all the gas fees and so forth. It would be astronomical prices, right, to store all the images and text and everything on a decentralized platform. So, but that obviously those costs will eventually come down, and we'll have niche markets where we could store assets, right, for a web page on another chain, and then pick them up and have another chain for actually financial transactions. So that's coming in the future, right? As we were talking about earlier on. And so yeah, as I was saying, basically, now where did I left off was we're going to see that, hey, we're going to have Web3 take up. We're defining Web3. We're going to see Web3 become the new web standard, the new standard. No more servers, right? That's not going to be overnight. No, that's not overnight, of course, right? But that's coming, and you can see the beginning of that. And they might call it Web 4, right? Because it's just going to have to be an interconnection of a whole bunch of technologies, but that's coming in the future. So what was your original question, right? Before I went into defining Web 3? What was that? What was
the question is, what do you use? What do you use every day, like Web3 type tools? Anything that you want to share? Yeah.
Well, of course, I use Uniswap because I have my own token on Uniswap, and I've used 1inch, and I wanted to use like Yearn financing, but I just never got around to it. But yeah, I do want to get into the more into the DeFi space and try to play with some of the cool tools out there. It's just so difficult with my time. There's so many things to do. It's just not funny. And I don't know what to do. Like, for example, I want to play with a Lightning node, right? And I have a Lightning node, and I've set it up, and I've set up multiple I have multiple nodes of different currencies. I play with those. But where do you find the time to play with the next cool thing, right? There's just next cool thing after the next cool thing after the next. You can't. You can't.
You know, in our team, we're on a meditation kick. We have like some of our team is doing meditation. I think especially because there's so much going on that we need to meditate to clear the mind, because it's just crazy, the amount of information. Yeah,
it's just coming in. They're like NFTs, right? DeFi, and then there's all kinds of tools. That's the second layer solutions, and like, oh my God, like there's the new chains to help support the problems that are going on in the other chains, and they're like, oh my God, where do I put my attention?
I guess I'm very conscious of your time, DaVinci. I know you're a super busy man, and we really appreciate it. So I guess my final question, unless you have more time, is you're a happy man, and I mean, you seem very jovial. You're very happy, and I suspect it's not just because you have a lot of Bitcoin. I think that you're generally a happy, but you figured out like some of the ways to what you value and everything. So could you share a bit more, like what makes you happy? Yeah.
Well, what makes me happy? Like, you know what, actually, I was always a depressed person when I understood how our monetary system worked beforehand, because when you understood the monetary system and then you learned monetary history, you knew what the direction was. The direction was we were going into despotism. People are going to be controlled by the people at the top. You see it when we see people talking about how, this transgender nonsense that's going on, right? Less than 0.1% people are identified as transgender. Why is this a big topic, right? Why? Because the media says so. And okay, so why is the media doing this? Because they have an agenda. Somebody has an agenda. They want us to be fighting each other instead of looking at them and looking at why they're screwing us over, how they're screwing us over with the printing of the money. Every single thing that's happening that divides us is because they want us to be divided, so that we do not stop and go, let's get together and stop those guys over there. Right? They can't have that. Right? So that's why we see this happening, because they control most of the wealth, right? Because they sucked all the wealth away from us to them through the financial system. And so with that, because they're actually thieves, right? Because only a thief would be able to, accept how the system is and use it to their advantage, right? Because they're effectively thieves. They're not good people, right? And so now that we have Bitcoin and we have this financial system that's going to replace, even though they're going to fight tooth and nail, and they you can see it, when they created this ETF and the what's it called, the commodities exchange, when they called Bitcoin a commodity, and they created the commodities exchange, which doesn't have any Bitcoin, which is the only commodity on the commodity exchange where you can't actually take possession of the commodity. Right? So think about that, right? Bitcoin is defined as a commodity, gets placed on a commodities exchange, and it's the only commodity where you cannot take possession of.
Yeah.
I see a problem with that, right? Right? Because I mean, every other commodity, right? If I buy the futures contract, at the end of the contract, I get to receive the commodity.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Yep.
Bitcoin is special that way. You can't get that commodity. Sorry, you could only get the dollars. No, that's a crime right there. That helps reduce the value of, help slow down the growth of Bitcoin. And so they're doing that with the ETF. Now you can actually buy this ETF, which is just a contract on the commodities exchange, the commodities exchange, which does not give you any Bitcoin. And doesn't touch it in the price of it. So you're only exposed to the price of Bitcoin, not actually owning Bitcoin. And it's not the same, because the day will come when that price is really, really high. And then you go, oh, well, I have all these dollars, so I'll just go take those dollars and go buy Bitcoin. And the person with the Bitcoin be like, why would I want dollars? You must be mad. But it says it costs this much. Yeah, I'm not selling them. So that's just a ticker price, right? Any price, all the prices are just false. So because price is what you could actually really buy it at, not what the price says when everybody looks at it. That's not the price. That's actually not the price. It's a price that somebody last bought it for. That's what it is. So it doesn't mean that you can actually get it for that price. So yeah, that's the cool thing about our whole system. I mean, there's so much to talk about when we talk about our financial system.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess what makes you happy is being involved and like and educating about the financial system.
Exactly, being part of that. Yeah, the whole thing. I mean, I love it because it's great, because now people are waking up, and I don't feel like I'm alone anymore. That I'm the only one who understands the system, and is like I'm like not the crazy person anymore. I'm actually somebody people want to listen to. That's funny.
I was listening in when you and Chris were speaking regularly. Adna, I think we've gone long enough. I'm very conscious of DaVinci's time, so maybe you want to jump in. Of course, we're happy to answer any questions you have, DaVinci, if you like. But I'll over to you, Adna.
Great.
Oh well, yeah. So do you have any more questions?
No.
Go ahead, and it was really great talking to you, and to understand your views was very educational, really. And my takeaway from this discussion would be that people should get more educated to understand. They can take one side, another side, a third side. There's no black and white. Find their own way. But education is important. Ignorance is no value for anyone. And if you see things will happen, let's say an economic collapse, a monetary system collapse, definitely is a time for everyone to do that, to get educated. So I wish everyone this.
Yeah. DaVinci, do you have anything to add? Obviously, any questions for us, or anything that you want to share about your projects currently?
Yes. Well, I currently have DaVinciJ15.com, where if you head over there, you can be a part of my personal group, where you can learn, you can see how to trade, how I trade, to look at my portfolio of assets that I'm trading, and also how other people are trading in my group, right? And I have like someone there also trading, so that you can actually follow some trades there as well. Also, at DaVinciCodes.net, I have Pandora's Wallet, which is software for allowing you to trade without actually connecting to an exchange. And so having to leave your money on exchange. Sorry, leave your money on exchange. And so I use that software so that I can like keep all my assets on me, because you know, the day is coming that one of those exchanges does get hacked, as I once mentioned in the show. So that's why I built Pandora as well. And you know what, right now there's a fee for it, but I'm going to actually convert it to a free software in the coming months ahead. So if you want to wait for that, that's fine. If not, you could join us. Once you do purchase it, you do join my group, and you are part of the group, and you can watch I do my videos live. You just watch that as I do them live. And you know, there's actually questions. You can actually ask me questions when I come on and do them live each time. So yeah, so that's a lot of fun. So definitely join us.
Great. Let's make sure to put the links up there, and you know, big fan of Davinci, big fan of your personality. Thank you for taking the time. I know you're super busy. You have so much to do. So really thank you, Davinci, and all the best.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Bitcoin. Yeah.
Bitcoin to the moon, man. Yep. Yes. Bitcoin's real. Bitcoin's here to stay. We need to be a part of it. Cheers.
Take care, Davinci.
Thank you for coming to the show.